Welcome to the Odd Life Podcast. That's AWED, which stands for Awake, Well, and Empowered. We're here to have conversations to inspire women of all ages to live odd AF. I'm your host, Hallie, and thank you so much for being here. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the podcast. So glad you're here. If you're watching this video, I changed locations in the house a little bit. I have a little better light from this big ass window right in front of me. So I'm going to use it to my advantage. So you're going to see a little different view of the living room back here. This is not my normal home. This is the home we're renting in Colorado while we're out here for our son's baseball season. He is our youngest. He is a sophomore in college, and we're out here being close to him while he is playing. And last year we did the same thing. Our oldest, our youngest were on the same baseball team. We ended up renting the same house last year. It was the best decision we've ever made. It was so great to be close. We used to drive 8.5, 9 hours for the weekend, back and forth, watching my oldest play. And it was a lot. You may think we're crazy for doing that, but when you have a child playing a college sport, you never know what may happen. And it proved us last year. He broke his hand in the middle of the season. If we never came to any of those games, we would have missed his whole season. We had a daughter that played college soccer, and it went by like that. She played only 3 hours from home, so we were able to travel to a lot of her stuff. So it's important for us to be here for our kids and to support them in their sport. I know it's privileged. I know it's not a normal thing for people to be able to do this, but because of the work I do, podcasting and writing, I can do this anywhere. My husband, a lot of times he's on his laptop doing Teams calls, and as long as he has access to an airport, he's good to go. So we can be anywhere, really. And why not? So that's what we're doing this year as well. Our youngest is in his sophomore season, and we're back out to the house we're in. And now we're getting close to the end. Oh, it goes by so stinking fast. And, you know, when every weekend is full of baseball, you really only have Monday through Thursday to do things. But then you also have real life things you got to do too. So I'm going to get into that here in a second. But I wanted to talk about what it's like to rent someplace longer term, what I've learned from it, and maybe you can glean some ideas from it, take some notes on it, maybe use it for when you're thinking about maybe doing it someday. As an empty nester, I cannot recommend enough of renting a home in a place that you normally would like to vacation in, or maybe you have vacationed in, and you're wondering, could I live here full time? Going to rent someplace in that area will give you great insight on what daily life will be like there. And I know we may choose a season that is the most favorable, like living in Maine in the summer. I'm sure it's fantastic. But what's life like in winter there? Probably completely different. I know it only gives you a small snapshot, but maybe that's the solution is you rent someplace in the summer that's a gorgeous place to live, and then you go back home for more of the normal seasons you're used to, or you go someplace else for the winter and you rent someplace for a couple of months where it's a little more favorable. Maybe your permanent home is in Maine. You're like, I got to get out of here for the winter. It's awful. So then you rent someplace that's warmer that you love going to. Just saying, check it out. So I'm going to share a few things I learned by doing this. And we've only done this, like I said, twice, and it's the same location. So I haven't experimented with a lot of other places yet, but that's in the near future. We're doing this now because we've got a kiddo still in college, and we're here because of his baseball. But in a couple of years, when he's done, we'll be able to choose different locations. And I've got a list I've started of where I want to go and what I want to try. And you can bet I would love to go to Europe for a couple of months a year. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? So this is what I've gleaned from this time. If you're an empty nester and you're thinking about doing this, or you're about to be an empty nester and you want to get the ideas rolling, I want you to consider these things when you're planning. These are just some things that I feel are important to me that have been priorities and lessons in all of this. So the first thing is regular life still happens. We have laundry. We have to do the dishes. We have to grocery shop. We have to get our workouts in. We have work, the big one, big W word. We have to still work. So this is not a long-term vacation. Unfortunately, real life still follows you wherever you go. There's no maid coming in to clean up after you. Every night's not a meal out. There's not a pool bar to go to. This is just normal life. but you're doing it someplace else. So that's the first thing to consider. And in that, it's important to consider, do I have access to a grocery store? Do I have access to a gym? Do I need access to a dry cleaner? Does it have good Wi Fi? Can I work from this place? Other things to consider, like what kind of water system does it have? What's the refrigerator like there? Is it filtered water? In the grand scheme of it all, these are little things, but it's the things you have to contend with when you're someplace else that's not your home. Again, point one, you're still dealing with real life. Things don't change. This isn't a vacation. You're just picking up your life and living it someplace else temporarily. And what do you want that to look like? And setting expectations for that. There really isn't a pantry here. And the fridge is a side by side, which doesn't lend for a lot of room in the fridge. I have to do grocery shopping more often. You can't go and buy a bunch of things and have it all in the fridge because there's not a capacity for it. So my grocery shopping here is a little different than what I do at home. It's a different rhythm you have to get into. It's important to know how quick of access do you have to those things. If you're living in the middle of nowhere, that would be a big issue. How do you store food? You're not going to go every couple days to the store if you live away from civilization. And if you do live someplace that's a little more remote, your options will be limited. So maybe it's thinking about shipping in some dry goods or bringing much with you. So you have to think about what you do have and to plan accordingly and set your expectations accordingly as well. The second thing I will say, you want this time to feel special. So in order to do that, you need to make it special and think about how you want it to be special. I love being outdoors. Ask my neighbors. I will go sit outside in a chair in my yard and work all day. And I'm waving all day long at my neighbors, dropping off kids at school, picking them back up, taking them to practice, coming back, going to the gym. I'm outside for a long time. I love to be out in the fresh air. So for me, being outside is important. And here, there's a flagstone patio. It has these 6 Adirondack chairs around a gas fire pit. And I will sit outside most days. We haven't used the gas fire pit a ton, but it's a great place to sit and hang. So I like to use that space. To me, that's my morning hang out there. I'll get to that more in a second, but being outdoors is important. So how can I spend more time outdoors here? I'm surrounded by mountains. There's trails and hikes and all kinds of things. So we make a point to do at least one hike a week if we can. And there's times work schedules don't allow it. The baseball schedule on the weekend doesn't allow it, but we've done pretty good. We've done pretty good. I would say every other week we've done some hiking. There's a hike that's right across the mountain from us. You can go down the hill and back up the hill, and it's right there. It's a bitch of a hike. It's not easy. The switchbacks are gorgeous. And then you get around the mountain, and it's really gravelly. You're sliding a little bit more. You can't get good traction. It's not really dirt. You're basically walking on these little granite rocks, and it goes straight up. So it's hard. The Manitou Incline is just over there, and we have not done that yet. I think we're going to try and squeeze that in before we leave. We'll see how that goes. So hiking, important. Getting outside. We went down to the Garden of the Gods when our son came up with his girlfriend to visit, to hang with us one night. We went over there for a hike. I think that was on Easter or Sunday. So that's made it special. I can't hike back in Kansas. I can, but it's not quite the same. It is nothing like what I'm hiking here. That is a stroll through the woods back in Kansas. So I'm trying to take advantage of being here, seeing these views. I take the long way when I go into Colorado Springs. I drive along Garden of the Gods rather than up Highway 25. And then eventually I get on 25 because I've got to get someplace. It's gorgeous. I see mule deer everywhere. I will drive that way every freaking time. I will take the long road up by Cheyenne Mountain rather than take 24 down into town. I will go around and go through neighborhoods and drive along the side of a mountain the whole time. I don't care if it takes me 10 minutes longer. I want to be in the area and see the things. I don't want to spend my time on a highway. I can do that back home. So I choose routes to get me places that are the most scenic. I haven't done it yet this trip, but last year I went and got myself a coffee. I got some groceries, and then I just drove north of town to see where it led, just to mess around. And I found a little lake up there with a trail. We ended up going back there to go on a hike with the dogs. It was great. I like to explore. Maybe there's some live music around that's in a very special setting. Maybe there's an amphitheater. Maybe there's a outdoor space that is just amazing. You got a mountain for a backdrop. Farmers markets here probably hit different than back home. Local music, local musicians. Maybe there's a chili cook off. We haven't been great about doing some of those things because a lot of those happen on the weekend and we're busy at baseball on the weekends. But like I said, that's going to eventually not be the case. But those are things we look for when we can. First Fridays, they have them down here at Old Colorado City. We tried to do that. The games got pushed to the next day because of weather. Well, then the weather affected the first Fridays. It was cold and rainy. And so we couldn't do that either. So it was like, oh, we were so close. Just making it special. Things you cannot do back home. Finding the things that are local. Just finding the things that are unique in the area and tuning into those. That's important, I think, because it makes this feel super unique. Like, why would you come here and do all the same things you do back home? Why would you go to a chain restaurant when you could try a local restaurant? And that's another thing. I try and visit a lot of the local businesses in town, local bookstores, the mom and pop shops, the little coffee shop. Oh, there's Wilson making an appearance. Hi, Wilson. Oh, you know what? The wind picked up and he does not like the wind. Our last dog did not like thunder. This one could care less about thunder, but the wind makes him anxious. You may be able to hear it through the microphone. We are sort of on top of a hill at the house. So I apologize if it sounds like I'm in a haunted house. I am not. Back to what I was saying. Local businesses. There's a couple little cute boutiques down in Old Colorado City I go to. I'm so excited to introduce you to a new podcast by my friend Alicia Hill and her co-host Liam Martin. They're sharing what life is like with OCD through funny stories and real life examples as well as coping tools. If OCD is part of your life, whether personally or through loved ones, this podcast is for you. Tune in and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can check out the link in my show notes. Now, back to the show. I buy a book for a friend, bought these little felt hearts for my kids that they can put in their car with them to know that I'm always with them. I buy a cute little scarf or a gift for a friend. I love doing that because when I come back, I want those businesses to stick around so I can visit them again next year. I think about that a lot when I'm visiting someplace, especially here longer term. I try and avoid all chains if I can. Of course, there's certain places I have to go for certain items, but I try and find local every chance I get. Why wouldn't I do that? So that's, I think, important to do. Speaking of locals, is connecting with the locals. I have done more this time. I joined ClassPass. I think ClassPass is a great way to meet people. I know this may not seem like the ideal place because you go into a class, you're doing yoga, and everyone's quiet at the end, and then you leave. I think this is actually a great place to meet friends. If you tend to go to the same class because of the schedule, you like this one instructor, people are creatures of habit. You go to the same class over and over again and you're going to see the same people. You're going to probably strike up a conversation, whether it's before class as you're stretching, maybe you're waiting for the instructor to show up, maybe it's after class and you're putting your shoes back on. You just have to put yourself out there. I don't think that's an unreasonable place to meet people. So that's what I've done. I've done ClassPass just so I can get out of the gym a little bit more. I go to the gym a couple times a week and then I like to supplement it with the ClassPass stuff. I'm not a gym conversation gal. I'm much more of a yoga, Pilates kind of class conversation gal. I go down to the local coffee shops and a lot of times I will strike up a conversation. I had these two students that were studying for an exam. They had these bones sitting out and they were quizzing each other on the structure of the bone, what this part was, what that part was. And I was like, oh my gosh, you don't see this every day in a coffee shop. And they gave me their scenario. He just had finished up with the Army and there's a Fort Carson here in Colorado Springs. He had been serving through Fort Carson for a number of years, finally left, and now he wants to become a radiologist. So he's taking classes. So I learned all that about him. Super nice conversation. Are we friends? Did we exchange numbers? No. But having those conversations, it's like practice. And the more I keep doing that, the more I feel like I'm part of the town. I went to another coffee shop. Actually, when I first got here in Old Colorado City, I was trying to log in through the Wi-Fi and it wasn't working. And I double checked. I'm like, I got to ask somebody, this gal's working over here. I don't know how she's logged in. So I asked her, she said, actually, I'm using my phone's hotspot because I couldn't log in either. I said, well, shoot. She's like, and I come here a lot. So I'm just surprised it's not working. So she asked the guy that was the server that she knew pretty well, and he helped us figure it out. So then I asked her a question afterwards. I said, thank you so much for helping. I appreciate it. You said you come here a lot. what do you do that you're able to do this? And she said she's in software and blah, 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 blah. And we struck up a conversation about how long she's lived here. And then I shared my story about why I'm here. And the next thing you know, we're talking about her family and her kids. She's empty nester as well. And I was like, well, thank you so much for your time. I didn't mean to talk your ear off, but thanks so much for the information. She was giving me some restaurant recommendations, all of that. And I get back to working on my laptop and she tapped me on the shoulder. I took out my headphones and she said, hey, if you ever want to get together, maybe go for a walk or cup of coffee, whatever, just let me know. So she gave me your phone number. I have reached out. I sent her a text. I asked her about going for a walk. I was going to go for a walk that week and if she'd want to join me. I did not hear back from her. I'm going to try one more time before I head out. But I have a phone number. I met somebody that felt comfortable enough with me that gave me their phone number. So that's progress. Way more than I did last year. I mean, other things you could do. You could take an art class, maybe jumping into a local mahjong group. Or maybe they've got open play, meeting some new gals that way. Maybe there's pickleball places around town. So maybe it's taking some pickleball lessons or tennis lessons, or what would you do at home that you could do here and act like a local? What do the locals do? I've got to find these. The next thing I would say is trying to be fully present when I'm someplace away from home. I spend my mornings outside. I get my cup of coffee. We did bring our espresso machine here. So I have a half cap latte every morning and I sit with my puppies outside. And I have a book usually ready to go and I've got my journaling. But for the first few minutes, I just sit and drink my coffee. Or it's when I come out and let the dogs out to go potty first thing in the morning. There's a bench on the side of the house that I will sit in while I drink my coffee. I try and spend at least 5 to 10 minutes breathing in the mountain air. I just sit and watch and listen and try and use all of my senses. When the sun hits the pine trees, you can smell the pine in the air. It's just, I love it so much. I love it so much. I've sat outside and I've watched the clouds come over the mountain. I watched a cloud come over. I was just watching it, a cute cloud, and I watched it dissipate and disappear. I have never watched a cloud disappear in all my 53 years. I just realized that this trip. I've never sat long enough and watched a cloud disappear. I also live in a place that's very humid. So chances of that happening are pretty slim. But here, where the air is super dry, that's not hard to do. And so I sat and watched a cloud disappear. Just dumb shit like that. But it's sort of cool when you're in the moment, just watching little things happen. I actually read a Substack post recently by Libby Delena. She was a guest here on the podcast. I love Libby. She's amazing. She shared a book called The Glorians. It's by Terry Tempest Williams. And Glorians is spelled Glorians. And the author calls Glorians these moments of grace, these ordinary, often overlooked presences, animals, plants, memories, moments that show us connection to something larger than ourselves. And that's what I feel like I do when I'm here. I notice small things. And when I do that, it connects me to this place. It connects me to this moment. And I have a feeling that comes up because I'm taking the time to just be still. The feelings of peace and joy and awe. As I look across to a mountain, there's a rock that sits on top of another rock and it looks like it's going to fall down. It looks like it's an ice cream cone scoop ready to fall off. I'm just enthralled with this rock. Like I said, the hiking trail that's across from us, I finally noticed it now that I've hiked it twice, the switchback over there. So I always look to see, can I see somebody walking over there? We didn't bring our binoculars this year, but how cool would that be to see a hiker walking on this trail across from me? And I did see it, but I saw it at night. It was dusk. We were sitting outside by the gas fire pit, and I could see a headlamp moving up the mountain. They didn't get very far. I think they were turning back because of the darkness. It's a bit of a treacherous, very skinny trail. So any misstep and you're tumbling down. So anyway, those moments of being where I'm at, just being present. And the other thing is here, oh my gosh, there's mountains that kind of crisscross in front of us. We can't see Colorado Springs, but we're just far enough away that we get a little bit of the light. If I turn away from the city lights, I can see all the stars. So if at night, if we're in the hot tub, I am always looking up. I'm looking at the stars. Of course, I'm looking for a shooting star. If I'm taking the dogs out one last time to go potty before bed, if I go around the west side of the house, stars everywhere. So I'll stand there for an extra minute watching the stars before I bring the dogs back inside. I think it's important to take moments like this throughout the day, not just the morning, but throughout the day, to be where you're at. Take the deep breath, look around. What makes this place special? I think that's really important to do when you're someplace other than home. And then taking that back home, doing it at home as well. So I think sometimes we take those things for granted. Like we're just, oh, this is my home. I've been here for 25 years and this is what this is like. Do we do that at home? Maybe I should do it more. So things to think about.
Hey friends, want to take a quick second to point out a product that I'm using on a daily basis called Perfect Amino. It's by Body Health and it's one of my favorite supplements. It's composed of pure essential amino acids, the building blocks of protein, in a form and ratio that's up to 99% utilized, but without the caloric impact and without breaking a fast. It's the one protein source that provides the exact ratio of essential amino acids needed by the human body to synthesize new protein and collagen without excess amino acids. I use this product to help me maximize my workouts and hit my protein goals for the day. And now you can get 20% off your order with the link listed at the bottom of my show notes with lots of flavors to choose from, like strawberry, mixed berry, lemon lime, mocha, chocolate, vanilla, and even unflavored if none of those are your jam. And don't miss out on their seasonal option right now, pumpkin spice. And they've got lots of other products too, like creatine, electrolytes, superfood powders, greens powders, and so much more. Again, that's Perfect Amino by Body Health, and you can get 20% off your entire order when you use the link in my show notes. Now, back to the show.
And then tied into that is keeping a journal while you're someplace else. Writing things down, like what you saw, what you did, who came to visit. If you went to a restaurant you really liked, writing this stuff down, because as much as we'd love to think, oh, I'm never going to forget this, we will forget details. We'll forget when did they come out and visit us again? What date was that? When did this thing happen? When did we see that elk on the side of the road? Writing that stuff down so you can go back and reminisce and relive that time that you spent there. Sure, we have our phones. I think putting it down on paper really solidifies it because we're writing it. They say when you write things out, it goes into our memory bank a lot better. But then it's a record. It's a record of your thoughts about it, your feelings about it, why it's important to you. So whether it's a travel journal or just your daily journal that you write in, I think to write these things down is important. I did not do that well here this time. I don't know why, but I did it last year way better. So I'm trying to get back to doing that the last few weeks while we're here. So I think that's super important too, to make sure you don't forget. And you can go back and as a family, even look at it and go, oh my gosh, remember that thing we did? Or remember we saw that elk on our hike? I remember this and that great restaurant and those people we met. How cool was that? So I think it's important to have a written record of those things. It's a great way to go back and reminisce and recreate feelings that you had while you're at that place. And then probably the most boring piece of advice or thing I would recommend is sticking to your healthy daily habits. Drinking the water, especially someplace that's drier climate. I got to really force myself to drink water. The other thing I would say, sleep. I love the fact that when I'm here, I'm exhausted at night. At home, I don't feel that way a lot of times. Here, I am wiped out. Whether it's the elevation, maybe the lack of oxygen up here, I don't know. But at night, I'm exhausted. So typically, I get really good sleep. And I've been sleeping in the separate room than my husband, except for when the kids come to visit, then I go back into that room. But he's a snorer. We got two big dogs. When one of them moves, I wake up and then my husband's snoring. I have wired headphones I use to listen to some background music to help me sleep, but they're not noise canceling, so I could hear things. So when I sleep by myself, I get the best sleep. That's great. I did mention that in the last podcast about sleeping in a separate room, but that contributes to having a great night's sleep. So maybe it's having certain arrangements that help you get good sleep. But then I get up earlier and I get to come out and I get to see the sun come over the mountain. So I feel like I've still got a full day. Just getting that sleep at night is so important. Exercise. There's a gym 10 to 15 minutes down the road, max. They did not have that here last year. We had to go to Planet Fitness in the north end of town. They've got one at the bottom of the hill now. I mentioned this the last time I talked about this, but that's been huge. So I've been exercising more. And like I said, I joined ClassPass. I've done a couple Pilates classes now. I only get to those about once a week just because of baseball. It's really hard. But I'm moving my body. And that's a regular routine. I'm not letting that go, eating my vegetables. A lot of times we come up here and it's this great restaurant and they have this and they have that and it's this pizza and this hamburger. And then you order things maybe you normally wouldn't eat. So I'm trying to do really good about having the fresh fruit, having the vegetables during the day. And also, if we do go out to eat, it's ordering a salad or something that comes with a side of vegetables. Trying to stick to those things because I want my energy to be up. So with fruits and vegetables, I feel my best. And actually, the thing that's great about being up here in the elevation too is you can do more carbs up here. It helps you retain water, gives you the energy you need to get up and go for a hike. So I do tend to splurge on more carbs when I'm here. I don't count macros, none of that. I just eat and then pay attention to how I feel. And that usually guides my decisions after that. If I eat greasy food or a lot of dairy, it comes back to bite me. So every once in a while, I'll have something, but I've realized it cannot be multiple times in a week. So if I stick to my vegetables, eat healthy, I'm usually good to go. And then I've kept in touch with friends. I've got my Kansas City Sober Social group. I haven't been as much in touch with them. I've been trying to share things here and there, but I do miss them. I've been trying to connect and respond to the conversations that have been happening over there on our WhatsApp chat. But I've had a couple of conversations with friends. I've visited a friend that lives in Denver. We had lunch. It was great to connect with her. Staying connected with people is super important, I think, too. So we don't lose ground while I'm away. So reaching out to my friends and staying connected is really important. So those things help me feel like me. Last year, my son broke his hand. I ditched a lot of those things. I was doom scrolling. I was not eating right. I was staying up late. I wasn't drinking enough water. I was pounding the caffeine. I was a mess emotionally. I told myself this year, no matter what happens, I am not ditching these tried and true things. So those are the things that I deem important while I'm doing this. And I know I've only done this twice. I'm not an expert by any means, but this is what I've gleaned from doing this time around. And that are going to help me get the most out of a long-term stay. So use it however you want. If you're an empty nester and you're planning something or you're a soon-to-be empty nester and it's on the horizon, these are just the things I would recommend paying attention to. I think it makes your time more special. I think it makes it more memorable. And maybe you're an empty nester that's already been doing this. Come to my Instagram account. Share with us what you've done, where you've gone, what you love about your long-term stays. Or go to the YouTube video of this episode and share in the comments there. I'd love to hear where you've gone, what you've loved about it, how you immerse yourself in the experience the best. We can all learn from each other. Or come over on Substack and hang with me there. I usually ask questions after each podcast episode. You can come over there and hang out with me on Substack and we can chat there. All that stuff is in the show notes of where to find me for all those things. All right, that's our episode for today. Love you guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk soon. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you found this episode either helpful, inspiring, entertaining, or just made you feel less alone. Or maybe all of those things. If so, I'd love it if you'd share this episode with a friend, as well as on your social media. And if I dare ask for more, to rate and review the podcast on your favorite platform, especially Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You see, the more reviews we have, the more people we can reach, and the bigger the Odd Life community can become. You guys are the best. I can't wait to chat again next week, so we'll see you then.